Good evening, I'm Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. We've all done our taxes by now. You have, right? If you thought your bill was high, wait till you see what former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak will have to pay after the court granted the IRB a summary judgment. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak now has to pay the Inland Revenue Board 1.69 billion ringgit in tax. This is after the IRB succeeded in its bid for summary judgment in a suit to recover 1.69 billion ringgit in tax from the former UMNO president. The Kuala Lumpur High Court's decision was made this afternoon. A summary judgment is where a court decides a case without going for a full trial, whereby dispensing with the hearing of testimony of witnesses, among others. On June 22nd, it was reported that Justice Ahmad Bache reserved judgment on the IRB's summary judgment application, following submissions by legal representatives of the board as well as Najib. It sought over 1.69 billion ringgit from Najib, with an annual 5% interest rate beginning from the date of judgment, as well as costs and other relief deemed fit by the court. Previously, Najib's lead counsel, Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, argued that the current suit is not a clear-cut case suitable for summary judgment, as there are many issues of dispute that need to be ventilated in a full hearing by the court. The veteran lawyer said among these issues are their contention that the monies assessed by IRB are allegedly donation funds and hence not taxable. Lim Guan Eng arrived at the MACC HQ at 1 p.m. and as of 7 p.m. he was still inside. Here's why he was there.
Former Penang Chief Minister Lim Guan Eng arrived at the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission headquarters in Putrajaya at 1 p.m. this afternoon after being summoned to have his statement recorded over the Penang Undersea Tunnel project. Deputy Chief Commissioner of Operations Ahmad Kushairi Yahaya said that the DAP Secretary General was summoned as a witness over the Undersea Tunnel project. Previously in early July, MACC Chief Commissioner Azam Baki said that the investigation papers on the contentious 6.3 billion ringgit Penang Undersea Tunnel project was in the final stage of completion. The MACC had interviewed a number of Penang government officials, including Penang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow as well as state executive councillors in relation to the probe. Seberang Jaya Assembly Person Dr. Afif Bahardin was also called in by the MACC in his capacity as a state executive councillor from 2013 to 2020. Former Penang Port Commission Chairperson Jeffrey Chew was also remanded for 4 days beginning the 1st of July to facilitate investigations into the case and has since been released on bail. At the time, the project, meant to connect Penang Island to the mainland, was being planned in 2011 and 2012. Chow was a special officer to then Chief Minister Lim. As at 7 p.m, Lim was still in the MACC building.
Two Harapan MPs today accused a cabinet minister of using racial stereotypes to make a point in parliament. International Trade and Industry Minister Azmin Ali was accused by two Harapan lawmakers today of using racial stereotypes in parliament. So what did Azmin actually say to get called out for using racial stereotypes?
Tuan Yang di-Pertua, insentif pengecualian cukai tersebut memberikan pengurangan harga kenderaan penumpang secara purata sebanyak 3.32%. Sebagai contoh, sekiranya Makcik Kiah ingin membeli sebuah Pro 2 Myvi 1.3G yang dipasang tempatan, beliau perlu membayar harga asal sebanyak RM44,590. Dengan pengecualian cukai jualan 100%, beliau kini hanya perlu membayar RM43,029 dengan kadar penjimatan sebanyak RM1,561 atau 3.5%. Satu lagi contoh, sekiranya Encik Ong membeli Mercedes-Benz S560 yang diimport, beliau perlu membayar harga asal sebanyak RM658,888 dengan pengecualian cukai jualan sebanyak 50%.
Speaker. Yang Berhormat, saya nak tanya, kenapa yang Melayu beli Myvi, yang Cina beli Mercedes?
Harapan Shah Alam MP Khalid Samad said it was a racial stereotype.
Saya nak highlight benda tu je lah.
Nanti soalan tambahan yang Berhormat dah tanya ke, saya pilih balik.
Salam resis.
Panjang lagi ke yang Berhormat? Panjang lagi ke yang Berhormat nanti?
Saya sebut tadi sebagai satu contoh.
Boleh
saya boleh tukar satu lagi contoh. Sekiranya Encik Khalid membeli Mercedes-Benz S560 yang diimport, dari Shah Alam, perlu membayar harga asal sebanyak RM658,888. Dengan pengecualian cukai jualan sebanyak 50%, beliau kini hanya perlu membayar RM646,626 dengan kadar penjimatan sebanyak RM12,262 atau 1.86%.
Harapan's Bangi MP Ong Kian Meng later added that there was no need for racial stereotypes.
Saya memang setujulah dengan apa yang Berhormat Shah Alam kata tadi, kita tak perlu stereotip lah. Orang Cina beli Mercedes, orang Melayu beli Perodua. Saya rasa ini memberi gambaran yang tidak begitu tepat lah.
Under the government's Penaja Economic Stimulus Plan, locally assembled cars will be totally exempted from sales and services tax, while imported cars receive a 50% SST discount. And now an update on the country's latest COVID-19 situation. The number of active cases are on the rise. The Health Ministry today reported 16 new COVID-19 cases, 8 of which were imported. Of the local transmissions, 7 were detected in Sarawak, and the remaining one was detected through a pre-flight screening in Selangor. Meanwhile, the imported cases involved 4 Malaysians and 4 non-citizens returning from India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, China, Indonesia and Korea. The number of active cases has also increased to 142 from 130 yesterday. Of those under treatment, 5 are in the intensive care unit, with 1 needing a ventilator. According to the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, a teacher that had taken the Kota Baru Kuching flight on July 4th was found to be positive of COVID-19 yesterday. He is the second teacher to be found positive with COVID-19 in Sarawak as schools reopened. Putrajaya began reopening schools on June 24th for students facing examinations, and the rest began returning to school in phases on July 15th with a full reopening today. However, the Sarawak government had decided to postpone the resumption of school to August 3rd for 3 districts, namely Kuching, Padawan and Samarahan. Outspoken MP Nazri Aziz today touched on the topic of party hopping, which riled up some opposition MPs. BN's veteran lawmaker Nazri Aziz proposed that the Election Commission Act 1957 be amended to enforce a party list system to end party hopping, curb the buying of MPs and ensure political stability. This was also one of the suggestions put forward by the Election Reform Committee to the previous Pakatan Harapan government. Rather than making party hopping unlawful, which previous attempts had been declared unconstitutional, Nazri proposed an alternative whereby a constituency is tied to the winning party rather than the representative.
Pertama sekali, apabila Yang Berhormat mencadangkan, iaitu di dalam perlembagaan, kita letakkan iaitu bahawa lompat ini tidak boleh dibenarkan. Tak boleh Yang Berhormat. Sebab dia bercanggah dengan human rights. Apa saya gelak? You are not for human rights. Saya nak bagi tahu. Duduk. Ni saya punya. Duduk.
Kebebasan
duduk.
Saya tahu kes.
Yang Berhormat. Ya. Duduk.
Tolong. Ya.
Kebebasan bersuara. Human rights itu. Kalau kebebasan bersuara ini diberikan pada rakyat biasa, ordinary citizen, maka sudah tentulah dia juga kena diberikan kepada wakil rakyat. Simple as that, okay?
Nazri contended that an anti-hopping law would not be feasible, pointing to the federal court's decision in the Nordin Saleh case that ruled such laws violated Article 10 of the federal constitution, guaranteeing freedom of association. At this point, several Harapan lawmakers attempted to interrupt him. Beruas MP Ngeku Ham was heard accusing Nazri of making contradictory statements.
Nampaknya Padang Rengas ni bercanggah pendirian. Tadi kata nak kestabilan untuk 5 tahun. Kemudian benarkan ahli-ahli parlimen melompat.
Saya nak cadangkan.
Itu sudah bercanggah dengan pendirian asas.
Saya nak beritahu iaitu bahawa anti-hopping law ini telah pun dibuat. Enactment di Kelantan semua.
Padang Rengas. Tadi Padang Rengas
telah didapati oleh mahkamah sebagai bercanggah. Maknanya boleh lompatlah.
Padang Rengas.
Kerana nak menjaga hak wakil rakyat punya hak bersuara. Jadi dia bebas. Bebas bersuara dan bebas berpersatuan.
After Nazri proposed the party list system as a method to curb party hopping, Kota Raja MP Muhammad Sabu stood up to voice his support for the idea. Coming up next, flooding in Nepal and India have left scores dead. Millions in India's northeastern state of Assam and neighbouring Nepal have been displaced by heavy flooding. Almost 4 million people in India and Nepal have been displaced by heavy flooding from monsoon rains. Government officials said on Sunday that dozens are missing and at least 189 have died. In India, there was flooding in the northeastern state of Assam, where the overflowing of the Brahmaputra River has damaged crops and caused mudslides. Assam faces the double challenge of fighting the floods and coronavirus. More than 1 million people in India have been infected by the virus. In Nepal, the government asked locals along its southern plains to remain alert as heavy rains were expected. More than 100 people have died in Nepal from floods and landslides since June. Landslides and flash floods are common in Nepal and India's Assam and Bihar states during the June-September annual rainy season. Floods have also inundated the Kaziranga National Park, home to the world's largest concentration of one-horned rhinoceros, with an estimated 2,500 out of a total population of some 3,000 of the animals. Atul Bora, Assam's agriculture minister, told Reuters that 9 rhinos have drowned and over 100 other animals have been killed. With the park waist-deep in water, rhinos, elephants and deer have been forced to seek refuge on roads and in human settlements. Did Russia meddle in the 2016 Brexit referendum? This is what Britain's Intelligence and Security Committee has to say. The UK government failed to determine whether Russia meddled in the 2016 Brexit referendum, a parliamentary report released on Tuesday said. It demanded the intelligence community to investigate the issue and make its findings public. The long-awaited report by Britain's Intelligence and Security Committee said Russia considers the UK one of its top Western intelligence targets. It found that Russia meddled in the 2014 Scottish independence referendum, but said the British government hadn't asked for a deep assessment of possible interference in the 2016 vote on membership of the EU. Instead, the intelligence community, quote, took their eye off the ball, it said, despite open-source indications that Russia sought to influence the Brexit campaign.
No one in government knew if Russia interfered in or sought to influence the referendum because they did not want to know. The UK government have actively avoided looking for evidence that Russia interfered. We were told that they hadn't seen any evidence, but that is meaningless if they hadn't looked for it.
The report urged the UK to equip itself to counter Russia's disinformation campaigns and political influence operations. The Kremlin said Russia has never interfered in another country's electoral processes. The report cast the United States and Britain as gripped by anti-Russian hysteria, and it cast Russia as a hostile power which posed a significant threat to the UK and the West across a range of fronts, from espionage and cyber attacks to election meddling and laundering dirty money. According to the report, it was only when Russia completed a hack and leak operation against the Democratic National Committee in the United States, with stolen emails made public a month after the Brexit vote, that the government belatedly understood the risk. US intelligence believe Russia sought to intervene in the 2016 presidential election to help eventual winner Donald Trump. Relations between London and Moscow hit a post-Cold War low in 2018 when Britain blamed Moscow for trying to kill former double agent Sergei Skripal with a Soviet-developed nerve agent on British soil. Russia denied it was to blame. And that is all for me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll be back with more tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.